Hello and welcome to this Matrix42 Mobile Workplace Management video. We're logged on to the Matrix42 Enterprise App Store as an ordinary end user on her PC. We're logged in as Maria Miller, and when she hits the Enterprise App Portal, she sees a screen like this one, which can of course be customized, and she has access to various things. So on the right hand side is stuff to do with Maria herself, so she has access to reporting incidents, personal information to update, for example, AD, and previous orders that she's placed. And on the left hand side she has all of the different categories that she has access to in terms of ordering catalog items, and the enterprise catalog gives us things like hardware, software, which of course would then be automated, and things like access rights, new accounts, all these sorts of things, which again can have some automation at the back end with, for example, Active Directory to make certain requests work. In this particular case, we're going to look at mobile devices. So Maria's received a shiny new iPad for Christmas or for her birthday, and she wants to get it enrolled on the corporate network. Now typically we'd expect a user to raise a request with the service desk, where it then goes through to perhaps infrastructure management, where it then gets passed on to mobile device management, where an administrator then has to do some work to generate an enrollment of some kind. And what we're doing here at Matrix42 is allowing Maria to use the Enterprise App Store from Matrix42 to search on particular terms, find a suitable request, and to be able to add her own device with suitable authorization. How does she do that? We have a form here, and we can either send a text to the device, and of course she should know the phone number for that, or she can send an email to the device as long as she knows a personal or any kind of email that's accessible on the device. When we generate this email, we're generating a one-time token that's valid for a short space of time, probably 30 minutes, but you can configure it, so that we know that that token can't be used for other devices. But the key thing is that we don't know which device it's going to go to, we just know the email that it's going to be sent to, and Maria then enrolls her device at that point. So we continue and check out, and that generates the request. But very importantly, we don't just want the users to request and have enrolled any device at any time. We want them to have some authorization steps in between. So in this particular example, it's pending approval of, in this case, her cost center decision maker, her line manager if you like. And of course Matrix42 has multiple different authorization workflows, conditional workflows that allow, for example, cost center manager, and then IT security. If there's a procurement involved, perhaps procurement need to authorize as well. And all of these things are part of the product. So Maria's waiting for Mike to send her an approval, and she can click on remind, and that'll send him an email in order to tell him to hurry up. So I've now logged on as Mike, Maria's line manager, and Mike has a very similar screen to Maria. He can obviously order items on his behalf, and actually he has the power to order items for people in his domain, shall we say, in his cost center. But very specifically, Mike has two extra pieces. He has a decision area, which allows him to see requests that have come through from his team, and he has a management area which allows him to look at things like reports for the spend that he has authorized so far this year. And for example, he can have a quick look at a report. Hey, how's my spend looking for this year? Yeah, I'm at €1,000 projected for the end of the year, therefore I'll approve this. But that information is useful for decision making and pushing cost awareness down the organization. So Mike's going to go to his decision area, and in this case it's a zero cost, so he can approve. When he approves, very simply, it simply moves the workflow on at this point to the next stage in the approval workflow. Maria's iPad is fairly vanilla, as in it's come out of the box. She's not bothered to set herself a passcode yet. She's set up a Gmail on there, so that's fair enough, and there's no other email accounts set up. And she's downloaded various applications and probably has a few photos and perhaps some music on here. So what's Maria going to do to get her device enrolled? She's going to look in the email, and there's an email activation that's been sent specifically to this email address. She clicks on it, and we can do multi-language obviously, and she can click on the link So we accept the profile request, and that then allows a security check to take place on the device to make sure that the device hasn't been rooted or hasn't been jailbroken, and that it passes all of the major security checks that we want to perform before we'll even leave this device onto the network, let this device access the network. So we can see now that certain applications have been removed, and we can also see various applications being deployed down to the device. And that means we've passed our security checks and we're now coming under management. Very specifically, we've got a passcode requirement as one of our security policies, and so this will force a passcode to be set on this device within 60 minutes, which is configurable. So I'm going to go ahead and configure the passcode, and with Apple devices that then activates the encryption of the drive as well. So we can see the profiles coming down and the apps coming down, and if we look into the email accounts, then we can see Maria's now got a corporate email account set up onto this device, which she can obviously use. Very specifically, we've got an enterprise app catalog as part of this. So one of the things that some customers would like to do is to turn off the Apple App Store and provide an alternative in its place. And so we can see here various applications that are available to Maria based on who she is and what group she's a part of, in order for her to be able to manage herself. Finally, we can see that there's a secure content locker that's been deployed, and Maria now has the ability to log on to her content locker in order to view content that's been published down to her. So now Maria has certain options available to her. One of the interesting things she can do is she can manage her own device without having to trouble the help desk for certain functions. So if she goes into her workplace, Maria is able to see orders, services, so things like software she's ordered, and she can of course repair that herself. And very specifically, she can go to My Hardware. And if she looks at her iPad, she's got an option here called Manage Mobile. The scenario is she's left her iPad in a meeting room, and one of her colleagues has decided it might be fun to have a look through some of the emails. And so whilst that colleague is doing that, Maria can issue a lock device, and that will stop the device dead. And so you can see that that's quite a useful feature for Maria to be able to do for herself. Now the next thing that might happen is Maria might forget her passcode. Quite a common request on most service desks. And so Maria has the ability to reset the passcode. And again, in pretty much real time, that then allows her to go straight into the device. But of course we have a policy set which allows a passcode is mandatory, and so therefore she goes back in here and she can set her own passcode again. Now there's other use cases that are made available here, and of course Matrix42's strength is that it can be integrated in many different ways. These are simply examples of what we've built on day one, but you've also got this ability to expel the device from mobile management, and what that will do is, that's the classic, I've left the device in a taxi, or worse still, I've lost it, or perhaps somebody's left the company, and they can go in here, expel the device. And what that will do is remove all of the corporately provisioned data. So all of the apps have gone. All of the stuff that was removed before is back. And of course, if we look in the emails, we're back down to having just the personal Gmail. So it's not a full wipe, it's an enterprise wipe, or removing the data that we've put on there in the first place. If, for example, all the stuff in the secure content locker is now no longer visible to Maria. And that's back to being a personal device now.